It's a privilege to be here among you all. My task is little bit difficult because it's post-lunch session. So first task is keep you awake. So I won't bore you with things. Primarily, I'm a clinician. I'm a research scientist. So the whole idea was, as I was talking here, basically, you all are from technical background. I work with brain. I have been working with brain from last 2 decades or so. Well, it's very important, because as he was talking about leadership, or I just rephrased this, that harnessing brain science for decision, influence, and flourishing. It's a simple, term probably. Flourishing means itself, means you have peace, happiness, and you're growing. So this is what leadership is also all about. Well, you need to understand evolution of mankind, or maybe even before that, universe and brain evolution, because this is how you are going to, affect your society. This is how you are going to, create societies, break societies, and future of mankind depends on this very vital organ called brain. Well, so because I'm just putting some historical aspects here, how the universe evolved. We all know the Big Bang theory. So because of this big explosion happening, the universe was created. But that was 20 billion years back. And then probably Earth came 4.5 billion years back. And then life evolved 4 billion years back. So first, very small, so there are again theories for how the life evolved, because it is important to know that how the brain evolved. So evolution is brain is going to explain what we all are doing today, what we all are going to be in future as individual or as a society. Well, there are various theories. I will not go into origin of life theory from science point of view. One which is most convincing to me, probably high temperature, ammonia, methane, it created some kind of amino acids, and probably that's how first life was created. That's biochemical evolution. If you look at religious angle, Brahma created whole universe, whole life, plant, animals in one stroke. Christians do believe that it was created in a span of week. So that's scientific angle and religious angle. Well, when we come to evolution of, so early evolution, why I'm trying to tell it today, because if you go back 500 million years back, there was the first neuron which emerged in ocean, in seawater. So we all, those who read biology, Amphioxus is primitive fish. So first neuron was nothing in seawater surrounded by a simple neuron. So this is 500 million years back. Because we need to understand that all the parts which were there 500 million years back are still there in our brain today, which I'll show you by modern neuroimaging, how these parts are responsible for our behavior in day-to-day life also. So this evolution is important. So fish, they primarily had paleon or old brain, 500 million years old brain, which is like for heart rate and respiration. So very basic brain in today, which we call brain stem. Brain stem is a part of brain, or small brain, sometimes you call it. So brain stem, this is responsible for heart rate and reflex, and they were able to survive with that. Then came amphibian and reptiles, 300 million years ago. Basically, so here the another part of brain developed, which is called archipelagon. Archipelagon, which is nothing but today's limbic system, which is there in our brain also. Limbic system consists of hippocampus, amygdala. So these are structures of the brain. You don't need to remember. But important thing to remember, limbic system in us is responsible for emotions. So that is why it is all called, territorial brain also. So there are certain people in life, or the nature of a reptile is what? You don't touch him, he will not disturb you. You go in territory of a reptile, of a snake, he will bite you. So his reflexes are meant, his limbic system, as soon as you enter his territory, he will bite you. So you might have encountered certain bosses in your life. When you go in their chamber, they just scold and turn you out. So that reptile brain is probably more overactive. So that has significance even today. So this is what reptile brain or amphibian brain is all about. It's a limbic system, limbic brain. I talked of brainstem, paleopelion, then limbic brain. Then we go further, mammalian brain. So that's 200 million years ago. So here started something what we call neocortex or new brain, which we all have today. So new brain, so there is a brainstem layered over his limbic brain and layered over his your new brain or neocortex, which is outer brain, which is in all of us. So there they had neocortex, they had more behavioral, improvement, sensory processing, social interactions. They started taking care of their offsprings. So this was in mammalian 200 million years back. Then around 50 million, so brain is here expanding in size also, right? So this neocortex, so in evolution they became more and more social, size of the brain started increasing. First human-like brain was 4 million years back. So that's hominin brain. So basically the size here was like around 500 ml of this brain, 500 cc. And basically this brain size, as it was increasing, they were starting to use some tools in their hands. Well, then comes rapid growth in human-like brain, and this was Homo erectus. If you have heard of, this was 2 million years back only. Homo erectus is popularly also called Java man, which was in part of the Indonesia. In evolution, we had footprint of them. And then comes Neanderthals. So this is again a primitive brain. So today's brain, what we Homo sapiens or what we as human being today have is only 75 to 10,000 years old only. So what is happening? Here the size is increasing. It is getting more and more, complex, more and more intelligent probably. All these rationality, emotional intelligence, logical thinking, these are virtue of our brain, neopelion, which is new brain. Well, and our size of brain is now 1500 cc. So 1500 to 1600. So this is brain is, this is very interesting organ. In other words, you can take it's like weighing 1.4 kg or 1.5 kg. This much is size of the brain. These are two discs which is connected together by a structure called corpus callosum. So mind you here, it's 1.5 kg in weight, but it takes away 20% of your energy. So this is how it is using most energy in our body is used by brain. And this is the trade-off probably. So this new brain is, so this is how I would put it here. So in modern neuroscience, you can see all the parts of the brain which I was describing 500 million years back, paleopelion, brainstem, which is just for survival, heart rate and reflexes. Then you have this another in reptiles, you have a limbic brain, which is responsible for, territorial brain. So this is how it is. So basically, okay. So basically this all is, you can see here, this is evolution of the brain in this simple pictorial depiction, and this is modern neuroimaging. Okay. So this is MRI, a sagittal MRI of human being. Well, so I'll show you, how these old structure in our MRI look like. Well, before that, what are the factors driving our brain evolution? As we were evolving, we were having, more cooked food, meat. So these kind of diet were probably, responsible for increasing of our brain size, and more functions we were acquiring over a period of time. Along with we were using tools, maybe things in our hand, and there were social complexities, developing around us. Because it is very clear that population of any species grows exponentially. Population grows exponentially while food grows arithmetically. So you have more and more, population growing, but the food is growing not in tune of that exponential growth. So you have more and more complex social environment. So your brain has to develop, evolve and adapt. So this is the probably reason, and as I said, the trade-off of this evolution was higher energy demands, and then not only for the brain activity, but also this human being, they take care of their children, put in so much efforts and money, unlike primitive species. Well, so how two systems in brain work together? So this is important in terms of, you have somebody who quickly decides, you have, intuitive, you are quick, you just react to a situation, make a decision and just impose it on your colleagues or subordinates. So this is limbic brain, which is more active in you. Then you have analytical brain, which is prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal is front part of our brain, which is prefrontal cortex. What happens in any given situation, in a scary situation, in a dreadful situation, what happens? We have hypothalamus in the brain, then pituitary gland, then adrenal gland. So you must have all heard fight or flight or freeze. So to any given situation, any difficult given situation, you have either you fight, you flight, or you freeze. You become timid. You don't know what to do. So hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis is activated, and this is responsible, once your heart rate goes up, you have starting palpitations, you have drying of mouth, so you are scared, you are restless in a given situation because of hormones that are generated by that particular situation. In that situation, you have three things happening. So at the same time, if your amygdala, which is part of limbic brain, if amygdala hijacks this situation and decides what to be done, then your decisions goes wrong. And prefrontal cortex is suppressed, which is responsible for logical thinking. So that gets suppressed, amygdala takes over. So coping strategy, this can happen to anyone. So you have to learn. So the last part would be how you can do neuromodulation, how you can modulate your brain to react to a given situation. Well, so coping strategy, simple coping strategy, once you are faced with such situation, you just do some mindful meditation at that point of time or some deep breathing. So calm down. Or you can defer your decisions if you are not very clear. So don't let your amygdala take over your decisions. So this is important. Okay. So this is has been, so then over a period of time, you are neither in flight mode, nor in freeze mode, nor in flight mode. You are somewhere here where you're calm and taking decisions in a more rational and logical manner. Well, this is an interesting slide. Plants don't move, animal does move. Movement requires continuous adaptation. So this is very important. That is why, animals are higher evolved species than plants. Plants also have life, but they don't move. Movement requires adaptation, which is important for survival, growth and reproduction. So we need to store real and perceptual understanding of our changing environment. Adaptation, prediction, this is function of brain, and that function of human being, let it survive. So you have to predict, and brain is the predictor organ. Okay, this is simple. There are two mammals. This is me, this is my baby dog. So when somebody knocks at the door, she will go before than me. I'll open the door, and then if somebody is there or somebody is not there, depending upon my mood, she will have a reaction to me. She will bark sometimes. If she is happily, she will be barking. If I am in a happy mood, if I am in a sad mood, she will come back quietly. So see, two mammals are reacting to each other depending upon social circumstances. So we are adapting to each other by not saying anything. So this is very important. So this is, again, I take it further for a leader like you. Leadership, since Dr. Saurabh is there, for me leadership is a function of brain. See, there are certain, I would not dwell into details of the theory, there are certain innate leaders, born leaders. There are two theories, innate theory and behavioral theory for leadership. So fine. Innate theory is leaders are born, they are born. So you have to select them. Let's say because we can see in our surrounding also. Tesla, he did fantastic. He virtually transformed, transportation. Probably a kind of qualities of innate leader. He just comes across ideas, he comes across things and he will do that. Maybe Mr. Trump is an innate leader. He just do things and then probably sometimes he has to do more things to justify what he said or what he wanted. So you can, just think of these things, and there are behavioral theories where you produce leaders. Institutes like IIM, they produce changes in your behavior. So you create a culture, environment or system where a leader operates. So that's how most of the multinationals would work. They create such environments, so they teach, they create environment, they produce leaders. Institute produce leaders. So born leader you really have to choose. Sometimes it is by virtue of the family you are born in. And behavioral theory says that you can produce leaders. You can produce leaders. Well, but anyway, whether born or produced, leaders should have, as I said, adaptation is most important. So leaders should have mental agility. He should have agility towards people he is living with. He should have agility to the changes happening. Nokia phone went out. Just probably they did not adapt to the changes happening in the cellular phone market. Then result agility. You have to be, observant to your results. And not only you have to be observant to your own results, but result of your team. A negative result or a bad result or a poor performance should be analyzed, interpreted and solved. Rather than, again I am bringing back brain, that if you have a reptile brain active, you scold your subordinate, your team member, next time he will hide if he has done any mistake, and that hiding mistake will further deteriorate his work output, and overall output of the company or organization will go down. So that is not to be done. So this is how you have to be result agility, then self-awareness about you. So these are the 5 qualities a leader should have, and this probably differentiate a successful from unsuccessful one. So these theories I have already narrated to you. So this is very simple. So leader is one who is accountable, who is adaptable to situation, who is confident, who is creative, and empathy is probably most important thing. I forgot to tell you earlier that empathy means you are, kind to your colleagues, friends. So empathy is also function of limbic system. I told you 3 things: brainstem, limbic system, and neocortex. Neocortex is new brain, which is responsible for intelligence, general information, rationality, logical thinking. Prefrontal cortex is part of your neocortex or new brain only. So this is already, again I said, this is brain is like, 2 jelly-like cups which are connected at this structure called corpus callosum. And then certain things about left brain and right brain. So many times people ask, what is basic difference between right and left? Because there are 2 hemispheres, 2 cups put together. Right brain is mostly more imaginative. It has a big picture thinking. Left brain is more rational, more logical. I tell you an example. We all are here sitting in harmony, discussing things. Our right brain is active. We are in harmony, we are in peace. When your left brain gets active, you are at sometimes unrest also. You start thinking about your taxation problems, your family issues. So those things will come into picture when your left brain gets active. So those who work in software, they can take it like something. Left brain works like a serial processor, if I'm right, or right brain works like a parallel processor. Looks like, so this is the area I was talking about, prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for, this logical thinking and behavior. Well, certain part of the brain here in this area, they are called mirror neurons. If you have heard of something like mirror neuron. Mirror neuron were originally discovered in apes. I am doing something, you are seeing me, you try to imitate me at some point of time. So sometimes it is not only one's own action, we see, we imitate and we do things. So this is something which connects two of us together. So that creates a social network. So mirror neurons are important. The presence of mirror neuron in human is still controversial. But these are again I am just trying to put some sites by name. Prefrontal cortex, then you have dorsolateral cortex, then you have brainstem, then you have limbic system, which is nothing but hippocampus, amygdala, etc. Well, so this is how it is. See, I was trying to tell you that in today's brain what we have, because it's still growing. 50 million years down the line, or maybe 5 billion years down the line, what we are going to be, we don't know. Because social complexities are increasing, our foods are changing. So already brain is evolving. So maybe our brain would not be like this. Me and you will not look like this. Neuroscientists, many times it is alleged that brain is growing this side. So maybe this back, something would be bulged, maybe few centimeters away. So brain is growing on the back. So this is an assumption. So because with this AI and everything happening, changes are happening in our brain also. So what I am trying to put it here across. So this is coronal section of the brain. We saw this is our new brain. This is old brain. So it's very simple. When you see a MRI, you just put this circle here. This is what we call cingulate sulcus. Draw a line from here to circular sulcus. This is ascending limb. This is descending limb. The collateral sulcus, you draw a line. Everything inside is your old brain. Everything outside is new brain. So this is very important for a clinician also, that the diseases which are happening here would have a different, natural course and treatment probably, and diseases which are happening here would have a different, but that's not part of our discussion. The part of discussion is how you can modulate these structures in your brain. Well, so Miller's law is very important from management perspective. If you do, your brain has a capacity, certain capacity. We as a human being, if you give a work, sir, you would agree, if you give your subordinate 5 tasks at a time or more than 5 tasks at a time, do you really think he's going to have a fantastic performance? So our brain has a capacity not handling more than 4 or 5 projects at one point of time. So this is Miller's law. If you do that, you increase number of tasks, the performance declines. So this is important, and that you really have to assess that how much task this person can do. So you cannot, it has to be individualized. So the performance would depend, because brain has wirings all around. These are all wires, interwoven together. All axons, all neurons interwoven together, and they work on electrochemical principles. Electric signals and chemical release. So that's how brain functions. So electrochemical, and that's what still it is not possible to replicate a human brain. It's difficult, actually difficult. Probably the best combination of software and hardware produced by the God. We are still not able to copy that. Otherwise, brain transplant, you may have heard of kidney, heart, lung transplant, but not brain transplant. Well, so fearful brain. So this is, I've already told that human brain, but rationality has to be brought in, because it is instinctive behavior to react. This is our old learned habit. Right from the time when the brain was a fish or reptile, we have that brain. So we have already, inherited that thing in us. So that brain is already active, and it's more old, it is more strong. So new brain is new kid on the block. So you have to really modulate it so that your decisions are, more logical.
I have a question.
Okay, sir.
So you mentioned that our brain is constantly changing over the millions of years.
Yes, sir.
Why are these changes happening?
Yes, sir. So that's what, because it is number one, survival. Number two, propagation, probably for the growth. We are having, different surrounding at one point of time. 500 billion years back, probably Earth was a different place to live. Now it is different, and maybe later it will be different. So brain is constantly evolving and adapting to the newer social circumstances. So that's the reason it is, changing. It has to change. Brain is adaptation. So that is why leadership and brain, it comes together, because those certain brains were, in history you go back, certain brains were like that, they destroyed the whole nation and societies. Certain brain brought in peace, harmony and happiness. So how one has modulated his brain. So one thing is because of the social surrounding, your brain, environmental influences are there. One thing is genetic, another thing is environmental. So environmental insults are certain in certain, if you go in Middle East, environmental things are in such a way that they are not able to think beyond war and other things. Not positive things are not coming out. So environment is important. Their brain is adapted to their situation. So their brain functioning is different than ours. Living in India and living in Syria, you have a different brain, function. Because it is dependent upon the place, the environment you live in. So basically this is what we already discussed, fight, flight. So you have to defrost, freezing. Sometimes you freeze, some people get timid. It's good. Somebody, you reacted to the situation, you just reacted and you're okay. Or you thought something and you reacted, it's okay. But the worst thing is in a meeting where we all are here and suddenly I lose my voice and thoughts and I'm not able to, I'm frozen. So frozen state of mind is very bad. So what you do in that case? Defer decision where you are in doubt, and as I said, mindfulness and some deep breathing might help at that time. So brain is uncontrollable. That's what I mean. I'm not going details of that because so brain is uncontrollable by virtue. You really have to modulate it. These are desire circuits. So we all should know about these two hormones in brain. As I said, electrochemical. So two most important chemical or neurotransmitters or hormones, whatever you call them, are serotonin and dopamine. Serotonin is happy hormone. Dopamine is also rewarding hormone. Serotonin, it comes from brainstem. So brainstem is, I told you, it is a fish part. It is in us also. So the brainstem, the dorsal raphe nucleus of brainstem sprinkles serotonin in the brain and it gives you happiness. Okay, so that is why most antidepressant drugs you encounter in today's time are serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So basically they increase serotonin in your brain and your depression is, you were asking something?
Yes, sir. People eat more fish, they are very brilliant.
So that part will come probably later in what eating and how these things would help. So basically serotonin and dopamine is reward hormone. So these two hormones are very important. So there are certain foods like fish, what you are telling. So in diet also these happy hormones are there. So that is why they give you more happiness. And I tell you 90% of serotonin comes from gut and only 10% come from brain. So many times जो हम कहते हैं ना कि खुशी का रास्ता पेट से होके जाता है. So kind of you eat good food, you become happy. I mean most of people who eat good food, they become happy because serotonin gets released in gut. Okay. So, and in these are the brain fuels, I would say, and you can see this is what we did was you do meditation yoga for 12 weeks. This is a project I worked with Brahma Kumaris and I did for 12 weeks Raj Yoga along with relaxation therapy, which we have a module of that. So dopamine somehow gets better. So this is, we could prove by today's imaging also. This is another thing which very simple thing. You do a thing in a routine manner. You are taught in IIM that you come at office sharp 9 a.m. You do this, you do this, you do this, and that's how your output would be better if you follow this cascade of function every day. So it is difficult in the beginning. It is a ritual you do every day. Your energy is more consumed. You are more difficult thing. Then gradually over a period of time. And that is why your bosses are, better and they yield more. Their output is better because they have been doing it for years. Then it becomes routine in them. So then energy output is less. And this is everything in brain circuitry. And then it becomes habit. Then actually you really don't put any effort for that. It is just habit. To a given situation, to a given problem, it's in your habit. You come out with solutions so quick, so fast. So, and this should start right from the childhood. So basically, same something like in spirituality they would teach कि पहले आदत ठीक होनी चाहिए, अगर आदतें खराब होगी तो संस्कार खराब हो जाएंगे. So वन संस्कार खराब हो जाते हैं तो मुश्किल होता है, वापस रिवर्स करना मुश्किल होता है. रूटीन का काम ठीक हो, अच्छी आदतें बनेंगी तो संस्कार अच्छे होंगे. Then this is a very this slide I made for my patients actually, for routine, these are the important things you can do to avoid any kind of disease. Control your blood pressure, keep yourself non-obese, quit smoking, alcohol, keep your cholesterol under control, control your sugar, have half an hour walk every day. So that will keep you healthy. But stress is most talked about thing today. Stress is killing us. Even आज 10th क्लास के बच्चे को भी बोलते हैं तो वो बोलता है मुझे बहुत एंजाइटी हो रही है एग्जाम के पहले भी बहुत एंजाइटी बहुत स्ट्रेस हो रहा है बहुत एंजाइटी हो रही है. You all have done your 10th board class. How many times you have said to your parents that you had stress? In today's education, in a board exam you have a gap of 7-10 days. I don't know. I mean in our time probably we had sometimes 2-3 days gap. We were giving exam, board exam हो रहे थे, दे रहे थे, पढ़ रहे थे. कोई anxiety stress नहीं था. 90% did not have. अभी तो every 90% of kids would have stress, anxiety. छोटे छोटे बच्चियां बोलती हैं मुझे बहुत anxiety हो रही है. And they would actually seek parents will take them to psychologists, to neurologists. I have many patients coming to me जो बच्चे हैं 9th class में 8th class में नीट की तैयारी कर रहे हैं, जेई की तैयारी कर रहे हैं. Everybody is stressed. So what do we do? ओह लोड मत डालो बच्चे पे. हम भी यही बोलते हैं कि डोंट मेक हिम स्ट्रेस. पढ़ता है तो ठीक है उसको बोलो बेटा मत पढ़ो कुछ बात नहीं है, स्ट्रेस मत लो, टेंशन मत लो, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता रिजल्ट का. बेस्ट पेरेंट्स यही करेंगे. बहुत ज्यादा होता है तो समटाइम्स वी एंड अप गिविंग देम सेरोटोनिन रिलीजिंग ड्रग्स आल्सो. दैट हैपेंस इन टुडेज टाइम व्हिच वाज नॉट देयर अर्लियर. व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू टेल हियर, द पॉइंट हियर इज हमने बच्चों का रेजिलियंस कम कर दिया है. We were more resilient than today's generation. So what we have done is we are reducing stress to the level that there will be no education system, everybody will be passed. So is it a good system? Is it a better system? We are copying Western system. So probably education system in India in our time was the best in the world. And unfortunately we have gone to the system where we are copying Western system, we are reducing stress. Instead of reducing stress, we should increase resilience of our children. So this is the message here, because this is everything is a brain. Brain is governing. Me and you also have. Our kids have more evolved brain than us. So we are actually heading in wrong direction in this case. So this is another topic which we can talk for hours. But what I am trying to tell you, distress is bad. Stress is strength and good. No stress, no work. You all work in stress environment in offices. You come there in Bermudas and t-shirts and just do some humorous things and go back home, country would collapse. NIC, your data and everything will be gone. So this is, stress is good, distress is bad. Because of stress, if you are doing certain things which are negative, then it is bad. Because you have to really modulate your brain. Well, so lastly, then I come to this part. Sir, I have time. How much time? So, I have some time? Okay. So basically health. So now I will be talking about modulation. So we talked about evolution, structures correlate of evolution in our brain, their reaction to the given situation. Obviously leaders or for that matter any person you should have quick adaptation, you should be confident, you should have clarity. So these states should be there. But how to modulate your brain so that you can attain these states if it is not there? If you are not an innate leader, you are not a born leader, then how you can modulate your brain to derive to such states? Health is state of complete physical, mental, social well-being. So that is a WHO definition of health. And nowadays WHO has added 4th domain, spiritual well-being is also added now. So if we look back to this definition, probably 50% of us would not be healthy. So spiritualism by and large in Western literature, again I'll come to this point, because I also studied I did my training from Europe. So I realized what are their context and how does it differ and apply in our Indian conditions. Spiritualism in their language, in Oxford Dictionary, is a person who is empowered. Let's say I can make you to talk to your dead relative. I am a spiritual person. Atma se baat karate jo. So this is common, meaning of spiritualism in Western literature. It is not the case in our world. I mean, हमारे अध्यात्म बोलते हैं उसको, हिंदी में अध्यात्म बोलते हैं. अध्यात्म जो अध्ययन के द्वारा अपना खुद का आत्मा से परिचय कराया, उसको अध्यात्म बोलते हैं। तो ये बिल्कुल अलग है, ये सिनोनिमस नहीं है। सो दिस इज हाउ आई वुड गो अबाउट इट, बिकॉज there are certain, this is a slide where I was thinking that is there any blood test? No, not sugar, not cholesterol, which makes you, you're a healthy person. What is a test which can give you are healthy? So this is another paper I published in Health and Disease. This is something called HSCRP. It is a inflammation. It is an indicator of inflammation anywhere in the body. If it is raised, you have some problem. What it is? Talk to your doctor. Well, so inflammation, because all these inflammation is happening in our body. It is producing most of the diseases in our body. Inflammation, Sujan, if I ask, in very simple terms. So this is an inflammatory marker. I'll come back on this point again. I'll put you on this vignette one. This is a real life scenario. A 19-year-old boy. You see something white streak here. That shows his main artery in the brain is blocked. He had a complete paralysis on one side. 19-year-old boy living in a village nearby Udaipur. He had complete hemiplegia. He goes to district hospital. A CT scan is done. By the time CT reports come, doctor goes off. Next day he comes back. The doctors prescribe him some blood thinner, aspirin and cholesterol drugs, and ask him to visit to a tertiary care hospital. And on the day 3, he reaches to tertiary care hospital. And this is how this is a brain angiogram where this artery is blocked. And nowadays we just open this artery. This is a plumbing kind of thing. You just take the clot out through angiography. It takes 10 minutes only. This is the clot which is lying here, and you open the artery. What I'm trying to tell you is two things here. Number one, paralysis, stroke, lakwa. We have 8 lakh people, dying every year in our country. The stroke would require, all over the country, at least 2 to 2.5 lakh. This is ICMR data. And I come back to my own state data, Rajasthan. 1.5 lakh people have stroke every year. Out of them, 40,000 require opening of these bigger arteries in the brain. Why I'm saying this? Because this data is so important. 1.5 lakh people, 40,000 requires such kind of opening of artery. This is called mechanical thrombectomy. Maybe since you all would be knowing about heart attacks, that you do angioplasty, you all know about heart attack symptoms. Stroke or paralysis, maybe you may not be knowing that the treatment is within 24 hours, you open up the blocked vessel, mechanical thrombectomy. It takes 10 minutes only. So this was opened anyway. So what I'm trying to tell you, 40,000 people in my state require mechanical thrombectomy. Inflammation. I told you two things. One is HSCRP in the beginning, which is inflammatory marker, simple test costing you like 100 rupees or something. Then you have certain things in your home already to reduce this inflammation. We all are sitting here. We did not have any problem, no stroke, no heart attack. What we should do, so these things does not happen at all. So here, most, as you are asking, we have Ashtanga Yoga right from, time of Maharishi Patanjali. In Ashtanga Yoga, Yama, Niyama, they have, 8 limbs. Now, Asana, that is physical posturing. Yam Niyama is related to your diet and behavior. Then Asanas is your physical posturing. Then Pranayama, which is your breathing exercise. Okay. Then Pratyahara. And finally you get one with the God. That's what they call Samadhi. So 8 limbs are very important. So you have a diet. You have a diet already mentioned in this textbook. And this is one thing which is called turmeric. Haldi. We all have in our home. So turmeric has one thing called curcumin, which is active ingredient of turmeric. So why I am saying this, turmeric has curcumin, which is very potent anti-inflammatory. It is antimicrobial also. It is antioxidant also. It is anti-cancer also. Being an allopathic practitioner, I ventured into turmeric because curcumin is not mentioned in allopathic pharmacology books also. We don't consider it as a medicine. Once you are not considering it as medicine, how can I prescribe you? So that needed, some kind of research, and it's very difficult to take a drug trial based on turmeric. So since turmeric, so what we did, we did a trial. So whatever I'm saying you here is based on our published trial results. It's not something I thought of. So we did a trial. We started giving turmeric milk to stroke patients. We did 250 patients whom we give turmeric milk and 250 patients whom we did not give turmeric milk. The problem with turmeric milk is the milk has to have some fat. So turmeric is dissolved. So we added 2 teaspoonful of turmeric. Most of the time when you have turmeric at home, you will add half or 1. So that will not have. So we need to have 500 milligram of curcumin so as to this become effective. Then it gets out. You drink the milk, it gets out. So what should you be doing so that it is absorbed in our gut? So you just add a dash of black pepper, which has piperine. So 1 milligram piperine, 500 milligram turmeric, you have every day. Most of things will not happen. So then, coming back to my results, so 250 patient, so here the most important thing, we have a faith in turmeric. So my patient where I was not giving turmeric, they were asking, "Humko bhi to haldi wala doodh do." So we already have. So this trial didn't, cost me much. But I had to, first of all, you have to establish a feasibility study. If one patient is killed by turmeric milk, I'll be sued and out of practice forever. So this is, so anyway, this went well. This was published in neurochemistry also. So this is one thing I wanted to share about diet thing. So diet is very important. So this determines a person who falls ill repeatedly will not become a good leader also. So this is what I was talking. These are Ashtang limb of yoga. This Ashtang yoga, which is very important, and this we published, and this is how our results were in this study. So as I always say, we started this new thing, neurotheology. Neurotheology is spiritual aspect of brain. So these are my last slides. Spiritual aspect of brain are important because we believe that 10% of our brain works. If I ask you today, you take 10% of your salary home, would you be able to, live properly with that kind of salary? But we all live whole life with 10% of our brain capacity used. So what are the means that you can increase your brain capacity to the extent, if you can bring it to 75%, which is next to impossible today. Today I am saying, maybe it can happen tomorrow. So most of the diseases will be eliminated. Most of the neurological diseases psychosomatic. Brain, then the disease will come in. Okay. So the whole idea of neurotheology is including whether it's diet or asanas or breathing exercise, and obviously allopathic medicine is always for life critical conditions that will be always there. So how to increase this capacity? So basically, as I was saying, if you must have heard of mind, what is mind, what is brain? These are two things. Mind is something you don't see. More than 6,000 thoughts would come in your mind every day. You don't see these thoughts. You don't see mind. You just see brain. As I said, brain works on electrochemical impulses. So these thoughts come. So really you need to really process them, use them, unuse them, discard them. So this is how you have to work with your brain. And I tell you one thing, interestingly with brain there is something called law of conflict. Law of conflict means subconscious brain or conscious brain. I put it very simply, conscious brain is something what I was talking of, logical brain, neopellion, neocortex I was talking of. Subconscious brain, older brain. Subconscious brain is strong. How do we prove this? Very simple observation. Somebody has a fear of going into dark or flying, let's say. Somebody has a fear of flying. Howsoever you make him understand that flight do not have accident that often. You refuse every time and go by road or by train. But the person who has fear of flying will never fly. Somebody who has fear of dark, he will not go into dark. Whatever you explain to him. So subconscious mind wins over logical mind. So that's a natural tendency. This is a law of conflict. So many times these things will explain you that, so imagination and logic are always in conflict, and usually it is the imagination that wins, not logic. Science and religion are many times in conflict, but it is always religion that wins over science. So that's also a fact we should accept. So coming to the key point, that how you can modulate your brain, how you can enhance its capacities so as to give happiness to yourself. Once you are happy from within, once you are peaceful from within, you will be happy with your family, you will be happy with your society. So same thing will happen everywhere. So this will increase your productivity. So leaders should harness these qualities and neuromodulate their brain in a way their capacities are enhanced. There is something called IQ, intelligence quotient, which is genetically determined. I mean, I am sure all of you are, scientists G, and your IQ was already at par with others. Many of the other person in the society could not make to your position whatever facilities you provide to them. A certain kind of, this is, you can just, slight variation in IQ is possible, but it is genetically determined. So you cannot make a moron super genius, it is not possible. Okay. Then comes emotional intelligence, emotional quotient. So these are measurable quotients. You can measure them. You have tests. Like in neuroscience, you have psychometric analysis, you have imaging, you have EEG, you can measure these things. So emotional quotient is your ability to carry relations. How good or bad you are with your colleagues, with your friends, with your family. That's emotional intelligence or emotional quotient, which is nowadays talked a lot in management practices also, because if you are empathetic, you are compassionate, your colleagues, your output of the team will improve. EQ, which is right brain virtue, it can be modulated, it can be enhanced, EQ. And that is governed by what I told in the early part of the lecture. EQ is governed by your limbic system, which is there in previous, species also. Then the highest form of intelligence is spiritual quotient. IQ, your left brain is working. EQ, your right brain is working, your limbic system is working. When the whole brain start working together in harmony, then you develop the spiritual quotient, which is most of the time is not talked about, not discussed. So spiritual quotient is output of synchronous working of the brain, and then that you cannot achieve by any medicine. So this higher the dimension of spiritual quotient, you have more wisdom, compassion, joy, love, energy, creativity and peace that translates into personal life, your family life, your working life. Your workplace does not become a daily chore to earn money, but it becomes a place of joy for you. So spiritual quotient, because this is something which strike to me, I was not a person of this background, I'm primarily from allopathic medicine, a clinician. So this, one fine day, I did a case, you see the tight, this is a real fact I will tell you. There's a tight blockage here, I opened these arteries. This is a young boy from somewhere here, Wagad area in June. This is in the cath lab. I opened up this artery, took the clot out. I was happy, I did a good job. Patient went back to room, everything was good. Same day, some of my Bangladeshi colleagues were there visiting me in the ward, and they said, this boy, I thought the boy was speaking something which was not, I was not able to understand. He said, Ami Kusarda, something in Bengali. So I did not understand, I did not know Bengali, so I did not understand what he is saying. I just thought something happened probably. I created some small complication and he is having some jargon speech. I just tried to, put it under carpet. I told, he's saying, mujhe bhook lag rahi hai, I'm hungry. In Bengali. So I said, how come a Wagad boy from a Banswara started speaking in Bengali, all of a sudden. So that's not possible. So for that time I just hushed it, and maybe a few days later he became better and improved, and I forgot everything till I read one article actually. So these kind of things does happen in your brain. I don't know what areas were there which were inhibited and they got, so I really did not have any explanation till today also, but there are cases like that, you can say. So this is something, because religion is very important to us. Religion teaches you right practice. I had a background. After doing my neuroscience, I went to a place called Zurich. I learned my neurointervention there before I joined Nimhans here in Bangalore. Then I came, this is my hometown. So I came here, then I started neurointervention, which was, neurointervention means we do angioplasty in brain, remove clots in the brain, put some coils and glue in the brain for brain hemorrhage. So this was a new thing at that time. In India also, not many centers were doing at that time. So when I came here, I did not have any patients at all. Because no one knew, no one was referring, because people were saying, ye kuch dimag mein tar var dalte hain. So, people were afraid of this. So they were scared. So what happened? I was like 6 months, I did 1 or 2 cases. So I realized that there are more number of cases in temples. Lakwa in this zone or paralysis in many other parts of the India, People go to temples. We have a temple called Avri Mata where hundreds of patients are there of paralysis. So I was trying to tell ki come within 24 hours to me, I'll open up your brain artery, I'll remove your paralysis, I will stop or reverse your paralysis. But people were not listening because single person cannot do everything. So that time the leadership was here. I had to go to temples first because I am sitting in hospital was not working for me. So I had to adapt to new situations. Either I leave the place, but in that time even in metros there were not many neuro interventions happening. So this is 20 years back. So well, I went to temple, I convinced them, chief priest, somehow chief priest also have in Avri Mata temple, he had a stroke, he came here, he recovered, so he, then he allowed me to go. So in Avri Mata temple, there is a temple here nearby 50 kilometers from Udaipur, you have hundreds of stroke patients. So what you do, once you have paralysis, on one side, the temple itself was made 500 years back in a manner, at some places you have to walk, some places you sit and go ahead. Some places you have to crawl actually to go inside to see the goddess. So the kind of physiotherapy arrangement 500 जिसको पैरालिसिस है लकवा है वो पैरालिसिस उसकी रोज फिजियोथेरेपी वैसे ही हो रही है वो 8 घंटे यही कर रहा है सुबह शाम वहाँ पे खाना पीना ट्रस्ट faith है गॉड में so faith along with physiotherapy was healing them. Modern medicine at that time was not answer to that. So then I started going to temples. One temple, another Gota in Madhya Pradesh, in Rajasthan, adjoining part of the Gujarat. So we did because it is a tribal area. People were putting some pigeon, blood, and this kind of treatments were very rampant here at that time. So really, you have to. So your leadership, you have to adapt to new situation, take new initiatives, and that's how we started doing. And I mean, now things is changed. I mean, Rajasthan, we have at least 15, 20 stroke centers where things are done, and. So this is one thing. So sometimes this religion does matter for your work. So this is a spiritual experience. I will not go in details of that. I mean, only thing I can tell about a spiritual experience, once you start doing practice, it will be intense. You will not be able to miss it. It will be clear. It will have a sense of unity to others. It will have a sense of surrender. And this will remain permanent in your life. So I'm not going to mystical experience, numinous, because this is not part of our talk today, but these things, every religion has spiritual component. Jainism has told about supreme forgiveness. Guru Nanak Ji again, Islam also has, this spiritual component of Sufi cult. So every religion, Buddhism, they do enlightenment, and this is a photo, Times magazine, this was featured. Hatha Yoga was employed in US. Primarily they did it because there was a lot of smoking at that time, so this was employed to stop smoking. This is a real picture in Vietnam where a monk was burnt alive because of king, because of certain things he was doing. So but he did not move, he turned into ashes because his spiritual practices were so strong. So these are the correlates. Then this example of Saint Teresa. I'll just try to explain it in my neuroscience manner. What happens, any spiritual practice you do, meditation for that matter, meditation, you can take that module of meditation from me if you want to, pranayama, meditation. So these are in routine, you do these two things only. And obviously diet, the three important components are there. What happens when you do meditation, there are many examples, I mean I'll skip them, but try to understand. I told you about the frontal cortex, prefrontal cortex, okay, which is logical, sequential, thinking or work. There is something called on the side parietal lobe in brain. So this is responsible for orientation to time, place and person. You are sitting there, I am here. So there is a dichotomy between two of us. There is a sense of difference in space between us. So this is I am oriented because of my parietal lobe. If I enlighten my frontal lobe, my logical thinking, my concentration, everything will go up. And I suppress my parietal lobe by certain exercise or meditation, whatever. I will lose sense of time, place and person. So in spiritual practice, those who attain zenith of it, I have not experienced it, but they lose self-world dichotomy. वो बोलते हैं ब्रह्मांड में विलीन हो गए. So by certain practices, you can modulate your brain in such a way that you are lost and you feel one with the world. Not lost, you feel one with the world. So this is a scientific explanation, and this is not what I am saying. There are, I'll just show you a couple of more slides. This is our brain EEG, like ECG of heart. This is brain EEG. So alpha rhythm. This is alpha rhythm. Alpha rhythm is this. This is beta rhythm. This is a rhythm when we are relaxed. We are relaxed. Alpha is happening in our brain. This is a beta rhythm when we are working. We are tense. We are doing so. So you can see. EEG is a simple tool. You can see your brain waves, how it is functioning. Theta and delta when you are sleeping. Okay. So more and more alpha you develop in brain, you will know your brain is relaxing. Your meditation, it will increase. We did again this experiment. Meditation alpha, 50% increase in alpha with meditation after 12 weeks only, not after years, 12 weeks only. So this is how it is. Okay. So functional MRI, these are functional imaging modalities we have. So I will not go in. So I'll just simply show you. This is what I was telling you. This is front part, if you can see here. Can you see here? This is frontal lobe. This is side, this is parietal lobe. So red is there. So this is functional imaging of the SPECT images. This is what we call SPECT. So this is before one started meditation. This red area you can see, and once after 12 weeks of meditation, the red is here, more red here in the frontal part, and you see parietal on the side. Here you see all red, but on the side it is significantly diminished. So after meditation practice, your parietal lobe is suppressed. We know parietal lobe is responsible for time, place and person orientation. Frontal lobe is responsible for concentration, executive function, logical thinking, and then these are the two things which we can prove here. Then, once there is excessive activation of frontal lobe, it sends immense signals to temporal lobe and limbic system. Temporal lobe is somewhere here, and inside temporal lobe is limbic system. I told you in the beginning, limbic system is responsible for emotions. So excessive outspurt from frontal lobe to limbic system gives you immense sense of joy, ecstasy, and sometimes what they call awe. I mean, that feeling is something you cannot describe. You cannot achieve these pleasure by any worldly means. So that is spiritualism gives you in the end. That kind of pleasure, if you have experienced, you will not go for any other pleasure in the life. So that's again zenith of that, but that's a scientific explanation what I'm trying to. So there is excessive. So you can see these things by your electroencephalogram, by your functional MRI images, by your SPECT images. So scientifically we are doing it. We can prove that. Well, so this is, I'll skip these slides. Atheism, those who don't believe in God. But if you don't believe in something and do it, it will not produce results. So this is again baseline, and they started thinking of God and meditation and everything. But atheist, if you don't believe in something, even if you do that task, your brain does not get activated. So this is an interesting thing. So Kirtan Kriya was again a published article. Satanama. Sikhism, they do this Kirtan Kriya was done in Alzheimer disease patients. Alzheimer disease patients, they did it repeatedly, and after 12 weeks their memory scores improved. So this I will not go in detail of that. Again, the SPECT results. These are all published articles. Okay. So, neuroscientists are of opinion that spiritual experiences are not just the result of contact with the divine, but rather the effect of electrochemical elements interpreted in our brain. So, that's again an extreme suggestion which I don't buy. But then there is a whole circuit of meditation which is based on our studies today. Our own experience, we did in our University Medical College, almost 12,060 patients. So this is a module, one can take it from me if you want. So this is how we did breathing exercise along with physical posture, that's asanas. We subjected them half an hour every day. And these are our results. Depression, anxiety, stress levels you can see through these bar diagram. They significantly diminished. This is again paper we published by a journal from King's College London. This is transformational result of spiritual experience. So here you can see family relations improved, health improved, death fear improved, purpose of life became better, religiousness become better, spirituality becomes better, workplace productivity become better. So the problem here is, you see everything looks good here, but this 5%, it got worse. Family relationship got worse. That is something one has to, you have to see negative things also here. So 5%, 90% improved, 5% they had deteriorated family relationships. So that's also something which is difficult to explain. Maybe This is the paper which I was talking of, yoga and music intervention, and this was music was also added because that's another big thing. But music does work for our brain. I think that's all for today. Thank you very much.